Am I concerned when it comes to Toshi? The answer is absolutely not. Now, even though nothing I say is financial advice, why is that the case, right? Well, it's because when I take a look at Toshi, right now there's a pullback. I'm totally aware of that. But it's doing way better than actually back in April. Keep in mind, in January, right? If we take a look at it, it had a really good rally. Then, of course, in April, we saw that really massive pullback. But right now, it's actually doing better than back then. Could Toshi go lower? I mean, in theory, yes. Who knows, right? I can't control the market. But then at the same time, I don't want to give up. I'm not concerned by it because Toshi, the way you take a look at it, is literally a top 3 project in terms of popularity on the base network. I don't see any signs of the base network stopping anytime soon. The base network is Coinbase's layer 2. I don't see signs of Coinbase stopping anytime soon. This is the way you take a look at it. So why would I give up when it comes to Toshi just when the price is having a momentary dip, so to speak? Right now, who knows? It could maybe prolong, right? But then I feel like if there's an altcoin season, it wouldn't surprise me if Toshi even did better than back then and what it did back in January, because if I take a look at it, right, it did that back in January, which seems like quite a while back ago, but actually, even besides that point, that was without an altcoin season. Like, I don't think I've seen an altcoin season during this cycle, and it still did that. And even if we take a look at it, sure, I get it. The market cap as of right now is like, slightly under 300 million, but to me, if Toshi was able to reach nearly $500 million in market cap, which it almost did right back in January, give or take, or should I say near the end of January, almost around that time, without an altcoin season, what could it do during an altcoin season? You know what I mean? This is just my perspective. Now, I'm not telling it to do anything, but then currently there's over 600 million crypto owners. That's more supposedly than ever before in history right now. And I think we can all agree that probably the altcoin space isn't doing the best, and I think arguably we haven't seen an altcoin season, and yet we still have more than ever before in history in terms of crypto owners. That is very impressive, Back in the peak of the 2021 bull run, there was around 300 million crypto owners. I have not given up when it comes to Toshi, and why would I? This is the way to take a look at it. It's very popular in terms of, the base network, in terms of a project on there, I would say. And here's the thing, I think arguably right now, just because of despite the pullback right now that we're seeing, I think Toshi has actually overtaken Bread, which for a long time was considered to be the most popular meme coin on the base network. I think Toshi has overtaken that. So I think that's pretty impressive, given how Toshi for quite a while was kind of not really considered. However, of course, we saw what it did with OKX US and Binance US and, the Coinbase listing. So then overall, it did a pretty good thing, I think, in that sense. And I think that was probably what caused it to kind of overtake Bread in terms of popularity. Now, some people like to say, okay, the OKX US listing happened not too long ago. Why is the price actually not doing that good right now? Now, this is the way you take a look at it. Being listed on an exchange, especially during a time when altcoins are not necessarily doing the best, it's not just suddenly going to make any significant moves. You know what I mean? Sure, it may be increasing the volume a little bit because there's a little bit more exposure, but if let's say altcoins are not doing good, being listed in the best exchanges, it really wouldn't make such a drastic difference in my perspective for a lot of projects that I see out there. And I think Toshi is kind of no different in that sense, which is why, even though the OKX US listing was pretty impressive, the price is actually going down currently. You know what I mean? However, with that being said though, some people like to say, why would you still be excited nonetheless? Well, it's because the way I view it is this. That is laying down the groundwork. It's like laying down the foundation, so to speak. It's like if I'm trying to train for a marathon or a triathlon or something like that, that comes from the preparation. That comes from laying down the groundwork, the exercise before. I need to lay down the groundwork, right? I need to practice. I need to do training before I can actually do that. So I think it's no different here. This is kind of like setting it up for a moment in time in which, let's say there is an altcoin season, or let's say when the sentiment becomes better. So I don't think it's a bad thing overall. Some people like to say, oh, the OKX US listing was pointless or useless because, it didn't really do much to the price or something like that. But I'm saying, like, let's say in the long term, it could be a different story. And just think about this, right? When, let's say, we take a look back in history, when Toshi was doing its thing back in late, or should I say near the end of 2024, right? Who knew that in January, Toshi was just going to have this amazing rally. You know what I mean? So the way I take a look at it is this, and the reason why I bring it up is also because I feel like what we see right now, it could be different a month later, 2 months or 3 months later. Could things be, lower than they are as of right now? Who knows? I can't control the market. In theory, maybe, right? But then they could also maybe be positive. Like, for instance, it could be worse than right now, but it could also be better. So then the way I take a look at it is that it could be different, which is why I'm still staying patient. But again, this is the way I take a look at it. 2 cents is still on my mind though when it comes to Toshi. It is, I get it, as of right now, currently nearly a 30x from here. At the price of 2 cents, considering current circulating supply, market cap would be around 8.5 billion, which still doesn't seem that ridiculous to me given, the presence of the base network and just the popularity of Toshi within the base network, right? And also just generally speaking, when it comes to just meme coins, Toshi seems to be pretty recognizable more than before, even despite, I think, the pullback as of right now. I think it just slowly has been gaining more attention just because the base network, I think, also inherently, got more attention. I think it's kind of trickling down a little bit to something like Toshi. However, even besides that, if my intention is the dollar cost average, seeing things kind of dip, I don't know why I would necessarily complain about that. Now, I don't want the price to be low forever, of course. I mean, why would I want that? But then at the same time, if I'm able to dollar cost average and let's say the price is a little bit lower, I'm not going to necessarily complain about that because why would I? Again, my goal is to dollar cost average. If the price is lower, it's like, okay, I'm not going to complain. However, I'm not telling you to do anything. This is personally what I'm doing. However, trying to find the exact moment in time when altcoin season is going to happen, that is like not within my possibilities or not within what I can do in my perspective because the market's going to do its thing. I can't control it. You know what I mean? I can't control what happens to Toshi tomorrow or in the next 2 hours. I mean, it's like it's going to do whatever it wants to do. Or let's say just even the market in general. There's one thing I can do, and that's control myself, which is why I'm staying patient. I'm not giving up on dollar cost averaging, holding, and I'm waiting. And that's pretty much about it. And I want to say thank you for watching. I greatly appreciate it. And also feel free to subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I'd greatly appreciate that as well. It's been Lee the Captain. I hope you all have a nice day. And I'll catch you all on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.